This is where I was born. Montreal feels as much like an art gallery as it does a city. Stroll down the street of Saint Laurent and every block treats you to an awe-inspiring mural. Art seems to be just woven into this city's DNA, whether it's paintings on exposed brick buildings, art fixtures integrated in the winding streets, or the captivating architecture itself, a juxtaposition of vibrant avant-garde modern designs, or the Second Empire stone columns and cobblestone streets of old Montreal. I feel nostalgic seeing black painted metal fences in suburban areas and revel in the reverent beauty of the cathedrals strewn about the city. Every one of the religious structures here are gorgeous enough to make me want to get on my knees and pray. But the granddaddy house of worship here is the Basilique de Notre Dame. Now, I'm not a religious man, but I am moved sometimes to tears by humanity's aching desire to find meaning in our existence, a higher principle to submit to, so that we might find some semblance of hope, noble purpose even, in our shared condition of suffering. The sheer amount of devoted deliberation that goes into building a monument of this magnitude reflects either divine inspiration or the immensity of the human spirit. But making a hard and fast jump from Jesus to coffee, shy of being in Italy itself, you'll be hard-pressed to find better espresso, biscotti, or cornetti that you can order in one of the many amazing cafes like Café Olimpico, an Italian spot that's open tonight, and it's about as good as it gets for a rich, bitter double shot of dark roast. That's good. It's a cardinal sin to talk about Montreal without talking about Montreal bagels. I have childhood memories of spilling sesame seeds all over my dad's car, eating fresh, hot St. Viateur bagels right out of the paper bag. There's really nothing like it. Bagel making here is a craft, the combination of a malt flour, boiling the dough in honey water, and then wood firing in a domed oven produces the ultimate chewy-centered treat that is truly incomparable. It's exactly the same as when I was a kid, and actually, it's the exact same as when it opened. Founded in 1957 by Meyer Lekowitz, a Jewish man from Poland, St. Viateur hasn't changed the recipe since, and the shop pumps out up to 12,000 bagels daily. Definitely passes the texture and taste test. Now, just up the street is St. Viateur's biggest competitor, Fairmount Bagel. This was actually Montreal's first bagel shop ever, founded in 1919 by Isidore Schloffman. Now, the ongoing debate is, who has the better bagel, Fairmount or St. Viateur? Both are made with a traditional recipe by hand, both are wood-fired in an oven. Now, I was born and raised on St. Viateur bagels, but admittedly, I've never even tried Fairmount, so I went in and got one to do the comparison. You know, I was skeptical, but it's a damn good bagel. Still gotta give it to St. Viateur, though. The only local food more iconic than a Montreal bagel is Montreal smoked meat, and the most iconic place in the world to get it is Schwartz's Deli. There is an omnipresent lineup to get a table, and for good reason. This place is the fucking best. What's your name?
Frank Silva,
And how long have you been working here?
43 years.
What can you tell me about this place? What makes it special?
The food. Food's number one. We've been doing it since 1928. Original recipe from Reuben Schwartz. Everything is homemade. There's not a freezer in the house. We're the best, and we make it old school. We haven't changed. We haven't adapted. We have no microwaves, no cappuccinos, no espressos, no freezers. It takes 10 days to produce a sandwich.
What's a half sour pickle?
It's what you had.
Yeah.
It's a young pickle, not fully sour. More closer to a cucumber. It's homemade.
Cool. Awesome. What's your favorite thing about this place?
The people.
The people.
The customers.
Awesome. The world's best smoked meat sandwich, which is more than a bit tricky to fit in your mouth. The vinegary tang of mustard, a slightly sweet coleslaw, 2 different types of homemade pickle, and a pork-free kosher pepperoni stick called a nash. That was all the convincing I needed to know this place is worth the hype. I thoroughly enjoyed making my dad super jealous with all the pictures that I sent him. I'll be back. The trifecta of Quebecois culinary cliches isn't complete without Poutine. La Banquise is a restaurant with a lineup to get in that rivals most busy nightclubs, But it's heralded as the place to go if you want greasy fries with melty cheese curds and gravy. The kitchen is frantically slinging plate after fatty plate of the good stuff. Tables are turned over at lightning speed. I'm even brought my bill before I brought my food. But when I am brought my food, I know they did it right. The best poutines have fries that are paradoxically crisp and soggy. The gravy has to be piping hot to melt the curds to the point that you risk getting a third-degree burn in your mouth. I slug down all the polyunsaturated fatty acids soaked goodness and remind myself that, hey, I can always get a six-pack again later. Some things in life, like nostalgia, are worth the occasional hit. Yes, good food in Montreal is abundant and easy to find. Most restaurants here don't have to have iconic status or be vetted by a popular food blog to be awesome. A hole-in-the-wall ramen place could hit the spot just as much as that top-rated place on TripAdvisor.
It was so good.
Montreal is in no short supply of world-class patisserie, with French culinary influence abound. But I'm not on the hunt for French this trip. As much as I love croissants, I want Italian, and I'm specifically seeking out the best cannoli. According to multiple sources, I'm going to find it right here at La Cornetteria, right by Little Italy.
Come ti chiami?
Stefano,
Di dove sei?
Firenze. I nostri prodotti sono tipicamente italiani, il cornetto, il cannolo, il bombolone, c'è il cronaz. Siamo stati i primi a Montreal e credo adesso siamo gli unici a fare i cronaz, prodotto molto americano, non ha niente di italiano, che però funziona benissimo, perciò continuiamo a produrlo.
Qual è la tua cosa preferita che fai?
Il bombolone.
Sì?
Yeah, è molto buono il bombolone.
Grazie mille.
Prego.
A combination of a fresh ricotta cannoli with a dark espresso lit up every dormant Italian gene in my body. This trip has definitely been doing its job of making me feel sentimental about my childhood through food. Of course, I had to try one of the cronuts. It's a donut made with croissant pastry, and I got one with rich pistachio cream. Quanto in Roma, so they say. It was good, but nothing really hits the spot like that cannoli did. What does hit the spot like a cannoli? If you want a fine dining experience, this city has a cornucopia to choose from. But if you want a fine dining experience without the fine dining price tag, get the lunch special at Milos. This legendary Greek restaurant offers an appetizer, a main course, and a dessert for a measly 38 Canadian dollars. The olive oil is actually olive oil, peppery and complex. I opted for a grilled octopus to start, a top contender for my favorite thing I ate on this trip. Following up with the Dorado Royale, proving without a doubt that all you need for an exceptional meal is a few fresh, simple ingredients. Even if you have to navigate around tiny bones, this barely seasoned grilled whitefish with a bit of lemon was extremely satisfying. The only question I had is, what the heck do I do with this fish head? Now, I like to imagine myself as a gastronomic explorer, but the idea of scooping out jammy eye sockets and poking around for fish brains to eat was a bit beyond my scope. I took a literal crack at seeing what I could pick at before getting squeamish from picking the bits of skull out of my teeth. If the experience with the grilled fish had left me a bit unsettled, I quickly forgot about it when dessert made its way to the table. Milos makes their own baklava ice cream, which I ordered with a double espresso. Creamy, crunchy, smooth, sticky. I was tempted to make an affogato, but neither the ice cream nor the espresso lasted long enough for me to do so. Yeah, I quite literally ate my way through Montreal. Places like Brasserie 701 offered up cocktails that lit up my taste buds like electric liquid lime, burrata salads with bright vinaigrette, and smoky accents from seasoned pumpkin seeds. Fall off the fucking bone braised lamb shank, tender enough to make a grown man weep, served with home shimeji mushrooms, sweet potato gnocchi, and a pea puree with veal juice.
God.
It's hard not to go off the rails when you have some of the best wine, food, company, and conversation that your country has to offer. I don't regret a single minute of it. Asante.
The best food in Montreal, though, isn't going to be found in a restaurant, at least not according to me. It's going to be found right in this house behind me. This is where my Nonna lives. This is where she started her family when she came here from Italy. It's where my dad was raised. It's where they brought me home from the hospital when I was born. This is the origin of the Manuel family living in Canada.
During the Second World War, Nonna Genesia and her sisters fled the German-occupied town of San Marco de Cavotti, coming to Canada by boat. They made their way to Montreal, where they worked as seamstresses and started to learn French to slowly acclimatize to the Quebecois culture. Nonna had to flee to Venezuela, and he spent months mailing Genesia letters until he could finally reunite with her in Montreal, starting a family with their 3 sons, my father Giuseppe, and his brothers Mario and Luigi, and no, I'm not making that up. Eating food prepared traditionally by Nonna is a special privilege I don't take for granted. For lunch, she made us a hand-rolled fusilli and a tomato sauce she made from scratch, with soft ricotta-infused meatballs. The leftover flour from the pasta was used to make fluffy dinner rolls, and for dessert, she served espresso and pastieri, an Easter pie served cold made with ricotta, lemon, and rice. I really cherish these moments with her. She sent me home with about 14 pounds of food packed into Tupperware and a huge bag of the only ring-shaped food better than bagels, taralli, a crunchy Italian snack made with fragrant fennel seed. Now, you might not be fortunate enough to have your own nonna to cook for you, but you can still eat like an Italian here. Chef Roberto Stabile, owner of Primo and Secondo, makes real Italian food in the way that real Italians eat it, 4 courses at a time. Starting with antipasto, which is kind of like the appetizer before the appetizer. You usually move into a smaller, starchier dish like a pasta or risotto for your primo. Your secondo is a protein like a meat or a fish. I got the veal chop, it was insane. Look, just take it from a guy who's a little snobby about Italian food and his very happy date who left a 5-star review. This is a very memorable, unique place to eat. Since we're on the subject of unique experiences, if you want to take your date somewhere they're going to remember for a while, Montreal is the birthplace of one of the coolest performance arts pieces on earth, Cirque du Soleil. These shows are performed all over the world, but there's something super cool about the big top tent that they do it in Montreal.
Oh, that was good. Oh.
Alexandra, the girl who I was with, explained to me that the most important thing about performance arts is its capacity to make you feel strong emotions. I felt a jovial, childlike joy from the clowns' enormous personalities, awe and wonder at the magnitude of creativity required to even envision, let alone manifest some of these multimedia elements. But mostly, I was inspired to witness the limits of strength and beauty the human body was capable of, which is why, on my last day in Montreal, instead of eating my face off, I joined my friend Emily, who is a competitive masters athlete for Ninja Warrior obstacle competitions in Quebec. C'est toi? These Ninja Warrior gyms kind of feel like super huge playgrounds for very fit adults who still want to feel a little bit like kids. You have these tests of strength, these kinesthetic problem-solving things, a little bit of danger. I mean, you can even jump from platform to platform like your Super Mario. Mine is being voiced by Chris Pratt, you know. Honestly, after a week of doing functionally nothing but eating food, sitting at my computer to work, and walking around town, it was a bit of a nice reminder to realize I'm still a little athletic. Maybe not graceful, but even after all that Poutine and cannoli, I still got some moves. Emily, on the other hand, is like some sort of superhuman. Watching her move kept impressing me, not just with the incredible strength that she did stuff with, but the random flourishes and surprising fancy stuff. Like, look at that, come on! What the heck is that? So cool. My favorite thing about this, though, was trying things that I was really scared to do. When I made it to the top of this wall on my first try, my enthusiasm was through the roof. It was almost 8 years ago since I had been in Montreal, and my time here felt like rekindling a romance with an old fling that felt way more passionate and enthralling than I last remembered. I was just a kid when I first lived here. I didn't really know what I had. I took everything for granted. And now I feel pretty melancholy as I get ready to head to the airport for my next trip.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate that. So I was only here in Montreal for about 5 days. There's no way that I could have covered the breadth of what this city has to offer. But even though I contained my experience in a small radius on a couple of streets, there was so much that I got to pack in. Look, Montreal is the best city in Canada. There's no competition. I'm sorry, Calgary. I'm sorry, Toronto. You're not even close. Not even close.
I'm leaving with my roots feeling totally nourished, my stomach full of food, and my heart full of love, inspiration, and lust pour la belle Provence. À bientôt!